Good morning, everybody. Welcome to week 8 of our com235 class. This week we're going to start talking about some queries and developing forms in the Microsoft Access. If you'll remember, over the past week or so, we started learning how to build tables in Access. We started learning about the primary key, and we started learning a little bit about setting up different rules and things so that people put information into the tables in the manner that we want them to do it. So once we have the table built and people start populating the table, the second thing that happens is that we request information out of the database. And we do that in the form of queries or questions, or we may do it in reports, but we'll deal with reports at another time. A query is simply a fancy word for we're going to ask a question. So for an example, if our database is a database with all of our employees' addresses, names, phone numbers, date of hire, things like that, we may say, show me all of the employees that live in Virginia, or maybe that live in North Carolina, or maybe we say how many of our employees work remotely overseas. So we have this massive amount of data that we've put into the tables, and then we want to extract information from it. So we write a query. Now queries are relatively easy to write. We tell the system, where is the information at, what table is it from, or maybe it's in multiple tables. But we tell the computer basically this is where the information or the data resides. So go to that data and pull out, what it is that we want to see. You have to understand with databases that there's a term called junk in and junk out. So when we ask the question, we're only going to get information out of it as good as the information that we put into it. For example, if we abbreviate some states and we write out some states. If we put in hire dates, in one case maybe we type in February, in the next case we use the number 2. If we use 2 digits or 4 digits for the year, the different things that we could do when we input information into tables, all of that will affect the way that we get the information out. So that goes back to the design of the table, where we say that information is required or not, where we do masking or formatting so that people have to put in information the way that we want them to. And that way the query will work like it's supposed to. And later the report will work like it's supposed to. So there has to be a lot of thought going into the design of our database when we do the tables, and then likewise when we're doing our query. Now what's fun is the query can be saved, and usually is, so that if this is a question that comes up often, all we have to do is get it right the first time, save it, name it something that we can remember what the query is all about, and then all we have to do is rerun the query each time that question comes up, if you will, and we don't have to recreate all of the work. The same thing will work with reports when we get there. So the design work takes a little bit of thought. The query work takes a little bit of thought. But once it's in place and doing what we want it to do, it really does save us a lot of work, a lot of effort, and provides us with some really good information. Now we're also going to be learning about forms. A form, how do I want to explain forms? Forms kind of sit over top of the database, if you will. Think of the table as the engine of your car, and a form being the hood that sits over top of the engine. We don't want all of the users of the database to see the table. We don't want them to be able to go in and change the design of the table. We just want the end user to put information in and put it in the way we want them to. So once we create a table, we usually create a form, and we can design that form to be as simple or fancy as we want to. We can put images, pictures in it, change colors of it, can have different fields. We can design a form to be whatever we want it to be. And then when the end user starts using the database, what they see is the form and not the table. And that way we don't have someone messing up all the work that we've done. So as we get ready to go into the next weeks or so, you're going to be looking at the query, how to write a query, which is a question, developing a form that sits over top of the table, if you will, and then later we'll be looking at reports. So it'll take a little bit of practice. Obviously, in just one com235 class, you're not going to be an expert in this by any stretch of the imagination, but you'll hopefully you walk away with some basic skills here. Maybe it whets your appetite to take more database classes. I know that you can get entire degrees, 2-year degree, 4-year degrees in database work, and folks who are really good at database work can make a lot of money. So that's what we're going to be going over in the coming week, and I hope that you'll find it to be interesting and enjoyable. And let's see, other than that, in week 8, the next time that we meet in our Zoom session, please bring your photo ID, as we'll tackle the proctored exam during week 8. Other than that, please check the grade book. If you see zeros anywhere, that means I don't have the grade, or I don't have that material, or you didn't do it. So anything other than a discussion post, if you've got a 0 in it, you've got time to get that caught up. And since we're going into week 8 and we only have 8, 9, 10 to go, this is a great time to be reviewing the grade book and making sure you're okay. With that said, I'll see you in the next sessions.